Welcome to the pilot episode of the Photography School. In this episode we'll be talking about your camera's mode dial, what it does and how you can use it. If this will focus, of course. There you go. Okay, so you've probably got a camera, I assume you do anyway, and you want to know how to use it. This is what this series is for. The mode dial is the part of the camera which, as you can guess, allows you to select different modes of operation. The mode dial has got different settings on it which allow you to use the camera in different ways. I'm going to be using this vintage Canon EOS 500 film camera here to demonstrate, and I'll show you some other cameras with mode dials in a minute. So first setting, L, that's for knock, don't really need to bother with that, modern Canon cameras don't have it. P, program mode. The camera selects the aperture and shutter speed for you, but still change the metering mode, and you do exposure compensation and decide if you want to use the flash or not, and change the ISO or set it to auto. Next mode, TV, time value or shutter priority. This is like program mode, except it lets you change the time the shutter is open for, which is that part in the back there, and it does the aperture for you, and you can still change the metering mode, the ISO, exposure compensation, all that. AV, aperture value or aperture priority, same thing, but you can control the lense's F number and it does the rest for you, and you can still change the metering modes, decide whether you want the flash or not, etc. M, fully manual. This lets you control every aspect of the camera yourself. ISO, shutter, aperture, whether you want to use the flash or not, metering mode, all that good stuff. This mode here is exclusive to Canon cameras, ADEP, automatic depth of field. It helps beginners get a nice out of focus background. These three modes are exclusive to EOS film cameras, so to do with remote or sound or something. ISO, which lets you select the ISO of the film manually because you only get one ISO film. You can't change it on the fly like you can with digital, and that's usually normally read by, oh blimey, bashing my camera with the other camera, the contacts inside, but you can change it if you're using an old-fashioned film that doesn't have the contacts on it for the DX code, and that's just for manually rewinding a film earlier on. Green square, this fully auto, camera does everything for you, decides whether to use a flash or not, don't have to worry about anything, can't do exposure compensation, can't change metering mode, it just functions as a point and shoot that your grandmum probably has. That's how that works. These modes here, scene modes. First one, portrait, lower F number, closer focus, blurs the background, all that, and probably applies some sort of beauty filter on modern cameras. Landscape, focuses to infinity, etc. Macro, closer focus, probably lower F number to get a sharper image, but I'm not really sure. And that's for action, which is for that photographing sports. It uses a higher shutter speed, and that's basically it. It uses higher shutter speed so you capture sports and stop the motion. And there's some other buttons on this camera too, but this isn't a tutorial on how to operate an EOS 500. On a modern Canon digital camera like this EOS 1000D here, we've got another mode dial, which is over to the right, more on that in a minute. We've got the same familiar roster of settings. We've got green square, program aperture, shutter aperture, manual, automatic depth, except we've got an extra setting here. Two extra settings, extra scene modes. The first is night mode. Uses a slower shutter speed so you can take pictures at night. Best to use that with an image stabilised lens like the EFS 18 to 55. EFS, by the way, you can't put this on a full frame Canon camera. it has to have the right dot on the lens and the lens mount itself. And the next one is a lightning bolt with the okay, 9 for it. No flash. This is basically funny auto, but it strives not to use a flash or doesn't use it at all. It's for places where flash is prohibited, like in a museum, say, or I don't know, if you're trying to get pictures of a princess in the back of her Mercedes, use that. Now here's a non-Canon camera here. This is a Fujifilm S1730 bridge camera. We've got orange camera, which is funny auto, same as green square. SR auto, scene recognition auto, sometimes called scene intelligent auto. This will detect what sort of scene there is and automatically apply a scene mode to it, like you can manually select on the Canon. SP, to be honest, that's escaping me. I haven't used this camera in years. Panorama, that's for creating panoramas. It helps you stitch them together. Movie mode, self-explanatory. Custom, you can set a custom mode, so you go back to it whenever you want to. Manual, aperture priority, shutter priority, program mode, and that's pretty much it for that. As for where mode dial is on cameras, it really depends. If you've got a beginner camera here, like a EOS 1000D or like a 100 series XXXD, it'll be over here towards the right. If you've got an older EOS camera with a top LCD or a higher end one, like a 5D or 7D Mark II or 7D Mark I, whatever you have, the mode dial will be over to the left here, to the LCD. If you've got a bridge camera, probably on the top right. Sometimes I've got a few cameras that have a mode dial back here. Another thing to point out is not all cameras have a mode dial. Some of the higher end EOS cameras, like the 1D, and some older Canon cameras like the EOS 650, which is the first one they did, and the T series had buttons. So you just hold down a button and you move the dial to select your shooting mode. As I said, the 1D also has that, and some other SLRs of that era in the 80s had that, the Minolta Maxim 7000. So that's a good thing to note as well. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this quick video. There'll be more to come in the future about photography and how to use your camera. This was just a pilot episode. Hopefully the production quality will get better. If you don't really know how to use your camera yet, just read a lot of material, read it up on the internet, things like that, watch videos like this. One last thing I'll point out actually before I end the video officially is I think that mode there, some cameras have modes where you can select scene modes, not these, but you have to do it on the camera's menu system. And some cameras also have a manual mode condensed into one setting on the dial where you have to select it on the LCD too. I've got an old code out of that. Just to prove one more thing here, I'm going to show you here's just get out of the way, EFS 18 to 55 kit lens with image stabilisation. See, it's got the right dot on it. Try and mount it on a Canon full frame film SLR, and what's that? See, doesn't mount. Not gonna try and do it. You're gonna force it like my camera. Oh blimey, I'm looking at the camera there. Whereas on this 1000D, you see it's got the right dot. That's because just exception anything like that. So that's another thing to take note of, and that'll probably be probably talk about that in a future video. It's a big mistake. Don't make it. I did it. Just don't do it. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the pilot episode of the photography school by the ThePhotographyLord here. There'll be more to come. As I said, production quality should get better. I'll probably invest in some lighting and maybe a tripod for my camera. I'm just using a cheap Gorillapod at the moment. So thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. Stay tuned for episode 2.